Hello. So the aim of this video is kind of a second part to the original one. I had a few people watch the original one to kind of get them to share their stories, and they made some suggestions that I'd missed out pieces that people might be interested in or what they wanted to hear. And one of the parts that I do feel I need to talk about was that when I mentioned the PGC, mentally I knew that I'd kind of beaten that person. But the reason why I got so emotional while I was doing the original video, the first one, was that even though I knew that I'd beaten them, it wasn't until I actually said it aloud and had it recorded that I realised that and allowed myself to feel what I'd done. So yeah, that was quite a revelation for me during the video, and it kind of hit home that I'd actually officially beaten them. And now that I'm actually making this one, it's quite a few weeks since I made the first video. I've now officially finished my PGC, and my last observed lesson was rated outstanding, which was pretty cool. So I've definitely beaten them hands down without. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Something that was suggested to me is what I want to do next. And one of the things I'd actually quite like to do is I would like to do my PhD at some point. That's my aim. I also know that I need to do a second master's. I'd like to do the specialist dyslexia one at some point. I'd probably do my PhD first, I think, though. And it would have to be in identity and how obviously linked to like people's stories and how that impacts upon self-esteem and self-worth, self-value, things like that, how people can own up to the label and then don't really need the label because they've internalized it to such a degree that it's now part of them. Because it's all about understanding. And it was suggested that I talk about how I got through it and kind of got as far as I have done. And I guess part of that is I always feel a need to prove myself. So I always move on to the next challenge all the time and don't really appreciate what I've done. I am working on that. And I am kind of having to take a step back and think, right, you've just achieved this. Take a minute. Don't just look straight ahead to the next obstacle and the next challenge. Can take a minute to breathe and accept what you've done. There's also the sheer stubbornness and pig-headed nature that I keep hitting against a barrier and I'll break down that barrier. And yeah, that is a family trait, but I think it's also a dyslexic trait that we are all very stubborn in our own ways. But one of the elements that I think is quite crucial is when I was younger, I used to love Sister Act, and watching Whoopi Goldberg for me when I was growing up was brilliant. That was my go-to movie when I was younger. When I was feeling sick or when I was feeling down, Sister Act would go on, cozy up with the duvet as a little kid, and just kind of immerse yourself in that. And then over time, it got to the point where I was watching more and more films with Whoopi Goldberg in. And it wasn't until I was in my teens that I realised, or I found out, that Whoopi Goldberg was dyslexic. And for me, that was just like this lady that I'd always looked up to and always, her characters always made me feel good. Now, the lady behind the character made me feel good as well. She was similar to me. And it made sense somehow, because I think I mentioned it in the previous video, dyslexics, we tend to find each other. But my geeky side as well, and I big geeky side, I also appreciated Leonardo da Vinci and Albert Einstein, and how two very clever, quite zany people helped change the world. And these people were kind of like my role models, people I would look up to and think, right, I'm having a really bad day. What would they do? Or how did they do it? Or walking a similar path. And as well, I guess my students kept me going as I started working in education. They are what made me keep going, that I couldn't expect them to keep going if I didn't. I couldn't be a hypocrite to them. And yeah, some of role models have become quite a pivotal aspect. And part of the videos is giving someone the chance to look at someone that's attainable, that's real, that they might walk past in the street, that they might bump into, or who they might never meet but have some sort of closer connection to. And that's the aim, is just real life role models. I know that Whoopi Goldberg is real life. I might never meet her. It'd be pretty cool if I did, but the aspect that I'm kind of getting at is summed up quite nicely in one of the songs that I quite like by Sarah McLachlan, and I have it written down. And the saying is, you carry your courage and you carry the history of all who've gone before. And yeah, I think I might kind of got that line a little bit wrong, but the essence of it is true. Every single dyslexic person has a whole host of other people that have already walked a similar path to them. And if they've walked a similar path, they've already made grooves, they've already laid bricks, they've already laid pavestones, they've already cut through parts of the jungle we have to walk through. Yes, our paths might deviate from that, but if they can do it, we can do it. And that's the whole aim of it. That's my wish, is so that people can think, well, they got through it, so can I. And it might sound grandiose, it might sound cheesy, it might resonate with some people, and I hope that it does. And hopefully I'll be making more of these videos as it goes along. But this is going to be a bit of a shorter one. There will be more coming as I think of topics, or if topics are mentioned, and I'll cover them from my perspective. And hopefully this website will grow into something that people can be proud of. So I look forward to hearing from you and hopefully getting a few more of the videos, either video or podcast. So thank you for listening.